All right. So we are now officially live. Welcome, everybody, to
Excellent.
a wonderful new show for this week.
Yep. The Supersonic episode number 3, right?
Something like that, I think.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Having this much fun, you kind of lose track of time and numbers, don't you?
Yeah.
Cool. So
Oh my goodness. It has been a week, has it not?
it has a little
Oh
bits
my
here and
goodness.
there, a little bits here and there, but yeah, a full 7 days. So far, my parole's coming along quite nicely. I mean, my commitment to this broadcast.
No, it's we've had quite a bit happen this week. Lots of developments worldwide from the whole pandemic situation. We have
Oh, tons of that.
yeah, we've had declarations of war.
Really, I was
Yeah,
not aware of that. I'd be very interested to hear that further on in our broadcast.
yeah. Now we're going to talk a little bit about that later on, but that was
Awesome.
very very interesting. And I figure if we're talking about war stories, it would probably be a good place to bring up some of our old LARP stories. I
Yeah,
thought that'd be pretty fun too.
that would be an extremely mind's eye type of time.
I mean, we're talking about theaters here. It's like we're keeping with that theme, so may as
Oh,
well, right?
all the world is but a stage.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Exactly. And also, before we get into that, I'm not quite sure if you heard there, Crumb, but yeah, something about AMC Theater, of course, claiming war as well.
yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Oh goodness, I thought you were talking something a little bit more country versus country thing. But
No, no,
however, okay, all
no.
right, I'm going.
That
Am I that
that's
much out of the loop? My goodness.
no. That was the teaser of the declaration we were talking about there.
I see. Now I completely understand. No,
Yeah,
sorry, it's gone. But no, I got it. There we go. All right, I
yeah.
get it.
So no, it's. I mean, we have a pretty good amount of stuff to talk about today. So that's pretty good. I mean, but tell the world how your week was anyway.
My week, my week compared to other people has been incredibly boring. I've been recuperating from a couple of surgeries. Let's see what else. Didn't watch any movies this week. Lots of YouTubing. We hanged out a little bit this week as well. What else? Just taking the necessary trips to the Dollarama every once in a while. Um,
Yeah, what a
that's really.
crazy week.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And plus, on top of that, our premier seems to be putting on his big boy pants, which is absolutely fantastic as he's slowly starting to reopen up some of the businesses within the general economy, which is really good.
Well, yeah. I want to get your thoughts on that. So
Yeah.
I've heard that we're going to be opening up a few things here in Ontario.
Uh huh.
We've been talking big about like, oh, businesses, get ready. It's time. It's going to be opening soon. Yada yada yada, etc.
Mm-hmm.
etc. But
Mm-hmm.
the first things I guess that are getting the clearance to open on like May 5th or May 4th or whatever it is next week. the the only three business types I would say, I guess, I don't know. It was weird. So it was one or two business types that were cleared to open.
Mm-hmm.
I can give you a guess, two guesses of what they were.
Record stores?
No,
No, no. Okay. Comic book shops.
unfortunately, no.
Well, I'm out then. I got nothing else I could possibly guess with.
Yeah. Well, with the dawning of the new seasons,
Okay.
we just celebrated May Day yesterday, May 1st.
That's right. That was yesterday, wasn't it?
That was
Yeah.
yesterday,
All
so new month.
right. All right.
And yeah, so that marks gardening season.
Oh.
So the green light, so to speak, has been given to garden centers,
Okay.
and so they're allowed to open up.
That's
So that
good.
people, as long as they provide curbside pickup,
Okay.
that's the caveat.
Every time I hear curbside pickup, I'm always thinking about American History X for some strange reason.
Amanda T says, "Hi guys, hello
Hello.
Amanda,
Hello.
welcome.
Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you
Welcome.
for joining us.
Yeah.
Good to have you." Yeah, so that has been given a green light to go as long as they have curbside pickup. And
And
believe it or not,
I believe you.
golf courses are told that they should get ready to open.
Golf courses, eh?
Yeah,
Huh. Do you golf, Crumb?
I don't.
You don't. Okay. Always gonna
I
keep
don't.
asking that question.
I know
Gotcha.
who does though.
Oh, wait a minute. Who's
Blaze
this guy?
Firestorm says it's time.
It's time.
It's
It's
time.
time.
I can tell you who golfs though. I'm
Who
pretty
does?
sure our premier does.
You think so?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
All right.
I mean,
I can see him hitting
I'm
a
not
couple of
gonna
balls.
I'm not gonna knock him because he's done like a pretty good job. I'm gonna give him a free pass on this one.
All right.
But
A free
but
drive.
it seems like the first couple of things that the premier wants to do is open up a couple of things that he wants to do around
Isn't
the house.
that odd? Something for the wife, something for him.
Right?
Yeah.
Very, very interesting.
Isn't it odd?
Yeah.
But I guess with the whole golf thing, you got like tons and tracts of land. So I guess that kind of makes sense.
I guess. I
Weird
don't know.
way.
That's
Maybe we should.
well, I don't know if like golfing is like a close sport anyways. I think that would
Nah.
be fine for social distancing, but it was
got-
curious.
It's got tracts of land.
Manatee says my dad golfs sometimes. That's pretty funny.
That's awesome.
That's pretty good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So basically, we'll take a couple of strokes off of Ford's card here today, or at least for the duration of our show. Give him a bit of a break.
We'll give him a break today. I'm not going to bust him too much. I'm not
Cool.
gonna bust his balls too much.
Cool.
Just get
Cool.
into the spring season, but that begs the question. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of businesses that are not on that card.
Really? Well, the thing is that you're more identifiable with the card than I am, unfortunately. So, what are the things that he plans to open up sometime shortly? I'm assuming next week.
There's no list.
There's no list.
Those are the two things.
So how are we supposed to have a plan without a list?
Those are the two things.
That's it?
That's everything. As
Oh my
far as I'm
God.
aware,
Wow.
garden centers can open up as long as they have curbside pickup, and then golf
All right.
courses are told that you're opening soon.
How do you have a curbside pickup for golfing? I don't understand that because they don't have roads to begin with.
Yeah, I don't get that at all.
I don't get it either.
Yeah,
Well, maybe I should take a bounce.
yeah. So I mean, the question here,
Yeah.
the question in my mind is like, all right, well, we have
Yeah.
a lot of small businesses. We have a lot of independent businesses.
Tons and tons.
Lots and lots, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. There's another one.
Oh, cool.
Car sales.
Oh,
Car lots.
I also heard very briefly, and I'm remembering a couple things here. Car washes as well.
Yeah, car washes because they're touchless.
Yeah.
And car lots because by appointment only. Those
Yeah.
are the only two.
Gotcha.
So, Manatee says at least Ford's condemning the morons who keep protesting. That's true.
A bunch of yahoos, eh?
Bunch of yahoos. That's going to be going. That's going to go under like almost legendary status, like Fuddle-Duddle.
Funny.
Right? Remember that? The OG
Oh,
Trudeau.
I remember reading about that in my history books. I didn't quite live through that particular history of Canadianness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
A little bit before my time. Thank goodness.
Well, Blaze Fire is saying my business is curbside. Monday will be 30 days laid off. That's crazy.
Yeah. Oh,
I can't
goodness.
imagine. I'm hoping that you're at least getting some sort of stimulus from the government or help from that.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Government
Oh.
stimulus. That has an odd ring to it.
Well, it's weird. So like I've heard a lot because I mean I don't own a business. I mean I know a few people who do, but I haven't really talked so
Mhm.
much about it.
Mhm.
I can't imagine what comic book stores are doing right now.
Well, the problem the comic book shop owners are crying a lot because they have all their product, they can't sell it, they can't get a new product,
And that's
And-
collecting dust.
and on top of that, all those people who don't have the online shops, it's very difficult, very very difficult to collect any form of commerce.
Yeah.
Speaking of shops,
It's so weird.
yeah. Well, speaking of shops, really quickly here, are you familiar with a little independent retail shop in Cambridge known as B&K Collectibles?
Yes, I am.
They just updated their website, and it looks absolutely fantastic. So I just want to give a little shout out to them because the person who owns the shop, Dan, is really involved with our projects from time to time.
Well, and I also heard a bit of news
What'd you hear?
that they are now offering curbside pickup as of I think May 5th.
They're getting into the curb game too, are they?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's pretty cool.
And on top of that, I believe if you spend $150 in merchandise, free delivery, and plus I got other sales as well. So
Great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
a friend of the show. Check
Yep.
him out. Check him out.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, no, it's gonna be it's gonna be very very interesting to see what happens with comic book shops because I mean, we talked briefly about it before, but I mean
We
like,
did, didn't we?
but just going back to it,
Mm-hmm.
it's like this is a really rough time right
It
now.
is, especially for all the different sectors in the retail industry, as well as other service industries and so forth. Just goodness.
Yeah, Amanda says manga in Japan's been hit too. Attack on Titan's been delayed until June, so there's not going to be any new content either.
No, no, there's
So
not.
even when they open up, I mean, they don't have Diamond distributing right now because I think
Yep.
Diamond's doing a thing right now. They don't
Mm-hmm.
have Marvel or DC writing anything new because it's pencils down.
You just beat me to that by 30 seconds. It's definitely a pencils down scenario. It sounds like they do have content prepared, but as we mentioned before in our previous broadcast, printing it is an
Yeah,
issue. Then after that, you got distributing it, and then you got has to go to different comic book shops. But of course, depending on what's that's the other thing about in the states right now, since some states are going 100% full bore, we're open for business. You got some comic book shops in those states that will be open, but the
hmm
problem is they haven't got any product to sell yet, or new product for that matter.
yeah, they won't have new
So
product for a while.
yeah, so basically in the states right now, especially from a comic book industry perspective, you got some stuff that's open. Some states are open. A lot of states are still closed, and people are going, "What the hell is this? This makes no sense whatsoever."
So this is going to be like a run on topic for the entire show here, but
Mm,
it's this is like detrimental for people, right? Because a lot of things for comic books, it's like it's ingrained in people to
yep.
go to the store. It's the ceremony of like going to a store, looking through the comics, like getting the feel of the pages
Hmm.
and all that
Just
stuff, and
smelling that print.
yeah, smelling that print and
Ah,
that desperate nerd smell,
exact. That's
and
this
and
nerd smell.
and
It
but
smells
now
like knowledge.
but now like you're forced to be out of this for God knows how long, like 6 to 8 months,
Yep.
and like are people going to go back to that now?
Well, I guess it has to depend on the individual consumer now, doesn't it? Or customer for that matter. So some will, some won't. But however, you know, as we as I've been telling, some different independent retail owners for some time now, you have to be both online and both in the physical. If you got both laid down, no problem. But once you start wearing off, it's like, eh, who
Yeah,
predicted a pandemic? I don't think nobody did. But
yeah,
however, it's been in the fandom sphere for some time now. So
so crazy.
it is. It is.
Well,
So,
Amanda's saying the new Walking Dead series has been postponed along with season 10's finale.
oh, there's a
Yeah,
season.
lots of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And Blaze Firestorm says he has comics at the store, but he can't pick them up.
Well, whose fault is that? Not getting the curbside pickup game.
My goodness, crazy
Oh,
stuff.
all of
No,
this.
it's going to be so interesting though, because I mean, like
Yeah.
this is one thing that I've noticed, and we can kind of share our war stories here a
All
little
right.
bit as well as we talk about this.
We're
But
gonna
like,
open up that wound and
yeah, I'm fully
the
retired.
the mental sky. I thought I had
I'm
all
I,
these issues packed away, never to be open again.
I'm a veteran of this community. I'm probably never going to go back to it. But this brings up a question for me for because I mean nerds are getting hit hard with this, right?
Oh yeah.
Comic books, we might lose comic book shops.
Yeah.
Now we're looking at LARP
Yeah.
and possibly
Hmm.
the end of the LARP scenes
Well, it's quite
potentially.
possible. Potentially. Potentially.
And
Um.
the reason I say that, and this is for something different, right? It's not about
Yeah.
affordability because I mean these LARPs are making money, right?
Oh yeah. I was gonna say,
Let's make
depending
no
what game you go
mistakes.
to.
Depending on what game you're going to, they're
This is
making
true.
money hand over fist. They're
Yep.
not paying anybody. They're getting ridiculous amounts of money. The problem is that when you get into a situation like that, you're hoping. Well, I guess you're banking on the fact that your business model
Hmm.
it's kind of like a drug addict, right?
But
You want to give hear me out. Hear
I'm,
me out.
I'm always listening. You know that.
You want to give like when you get a new client, and
Hmm.
I don't just full disclosure, I don't have any experience in this. I'm just I
Mm,
just talk big like I do.
mm,
When you get a new client, you want to give them the good shit first to get them hooked, and then they got to keep them coming back. right? That's LARP. That's what it is, right?
I guess it depends on the game you're playing in.
And then generally, if you have a new player
Yeah.
or you have a new client, you want to
Hmm.
make that first experience like unforgettable for them, so they want to keep coming back.
Of course, you want to make sure the transition between the realities of the real into the fantasy is a good transition
Well, yeah.
between those two realms.
And then like
But yeah.
when it comes down to it, it's like yeah, the first like year or so that you have them going, great, and then hopefully you have them invested enough in that character to keep coming back and keep coming back, because at a certain point, you know, depending on which one you go to, like
Hmm.
just ballparking, $50
Mm.
to $150 a weekend is not very feasible for a lot of people.
It is not.
I
That
mean,
is a lot of
that's on
that's a
top of
lot of money
travel
and food
and food.
and any other fantasy LARP stuff that you wish to acquire for that weekend.
Well, then you have all the costuming and you have everything else like that,
Uh huh.
etc., etc.
You
So
got a tent for yourself and a tent for your props.
yeah, so it's one of those things like okay, well, when you're in it, say a year deep, and
Hmm.
you're like, man, I really can't afford this, but my God, I've already invested so much into this, I just can't stop.
Hmm.
So here's the thing:
All right.
we're at a point now where that like in person LARPing is like you can't do it no more.
Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah.
you're just not allowed because there's no venue that's going to allow you to do it.
Unless, of course, you're borrowing your uncle's land, the one that has the farmhouse.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you
Yep.
have like family or whatever else, you're doing it secretly.
Yep.
But
Secretly.
so you generally you're being cut off from this. So like you're being forcibly withdrawn from, for lack of a better word. It's like
This
you're
is
being put
true.
in. It's like you're being put in detox,
Uh huh.
right?
Uh huh.
So because I've known people that have done this. I know people that have gotten like a full time job or they got a promotion or something like that, and
Yeah.
they could like they missed a week or two, and then that week turned into a month, and that month turned into 6 months, and then people just like were like, well, I can't go back to LARP because I'm just so far removed from it now.
Yeah.
Now we're in a situation where we have people forcibly removed for 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
How I wonder how that's going to affect the scene.
Well, it really depends on the game, what's going on, and stuff like that. I would assume, because as we both know here, as I don't have a lot of direct experience with fantasy live action role playing, I definitely
You're
do when it
lying.
comes down. Oh, I'm lying. Nope,
You don't
nope,
think
nope.
vampires are fantasy?
Well, I was
Please.
going to get into that, but however, as I was going to say, 'cause it's more of a comma versus a period after that sentence there. I do have a lot of experience when it comes down to the more World of Darkness stuff, White Wolf stuff type of thing. And
Yeah.
the thing is that as some people like to clump them all together as one color, they are two separate creatures with two separate different dynamics. But of course, they all have the one thing in common. You have your new clients, new players that come in,
Well, the
and the
animals
look
are the
of
same. Like the same. The people generally play. If
yeah.
they're playing World of Darkness, they'll generally drift to other variants.
No, you're absolutely correct. But however, one variance only costs really the book to buy and a couple of clothing. The other
Yeah.
stuff costs a lot more by different character classes and stuff like that in
Well,
between.
it also
So it's like,
depends on how much you want to put into it too. Because I know like plenty of people that have played. So like for the normies out there that don't understand the differences
yep,
between LARPs, there's parlor LARP, which you just go in to like any random place that's hosting a parlor LARP or whatever else, like a coffee shop or a library
hmm,
or like a school or something. And you can very minimal effort for costuming if you want to. I mean,
hmm,
most places low effort. There are some parlor LARPs that are very high quality where you have to put in like period accurate costuming, etc. It's
of course.
different, but the general majority of parlor LARPs you're going to find are very low budget, very affordable.
Hmm.
And then that's opposed to boffer LARPing, which is the going out for. I mean, parlor LARP can also be camping, but it's generally reserved for boffer LARPing, where you have a big open
Yeah,
space, you can swing sticks and hit each other with it. Where
yep,
parlor LARP
yep,
you don't do any contact.
yep. That's absolutely correct.
Yeah, so
And
yeah,
then, and then what's the terminology when they got guns and they're shooting each other?
it's still a boffer.
Is that a buffer? All right,
Yeah, that's still a boffer LARP.
cool,
That's usually like the
cool.
post POC ones that
All
have
right,
guns, because most
you got
most of the whatchamacallit, most systems don't translate guns very well. I know World of Darkness has it, but
Yeah.
Their real time LARPs are not very good for that because I mean, you as much as you can try to role play the supernatural stuff, you
Hmm.
can't really you can't really role play super speed when you're firing Nerf darts, right?
No, you're absolutely correct. Have you ever played any Cyberpunk or Shadowrun LARP
No,
before?
no,
No,
I
well,
haven't.
I have. And one of the few things that they did, which was kind of fun, is that they made everyone wear laser tag suits. So the
Oh
thing is,
yeah,
when you shoot somebody, it actually registers right away, and you know you've been hit or not. And they sort of put that into a real time, unless of course the player has a certain position put into play to basically counterbalance stuff like that. So
okay.
yeah.
No, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like there's all that stuff, but I mean, like the main string that they all have in common
Yeah.
is that these people all seem to be have some sort of addiction,
Mm-hmm.
whether healthy or not. They have some sort of addiction to the
Or
LARP scene
or a routine. Yep.
or routine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's just call it what it is. It's an addiction, right? Blaze Firestorm says cardboard cosplay. That's also another one. Absolutely. But yeah, they have some degree of pull, and for some people, it's I'm gonna go see my friends. For some people, it's
Yep.
I really enjoy being this character, etc. They have a billion different reasons for it.
Of course.
But
It's like,
now you have a situation
mm-hmm.
where people aren't allowed to do that anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and now they have to replace that with something.
Yep.
And with the personalities that we have, so like the more addictive personalities, I'm not saying like the regular Joes. I'm saying the people who keep these games afloat
Mm-hmm.
because they will literally put their rent check into to paying a game. You have these people now moving on to a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see happening with these types of LARPs moving forward?
Well, it really depends on the game and how they're putting it together. Like as an example, one of the few things I used to do when I was running Oakville by Twilight is we had a very strong online component using chat boards and stuff like that. So we could go in, talk to each other, and that's usually how that worked. When it came down to, uh, anything that was involving any form of game mechanics and so forth. There had to be certain traits to be spent. At the same time, there had to be a narrator or a storyteller watching it and stuff like that. But however, for more the fantasy, more bar for LARPs, that really depends on the scenario, I'm assuming. But of course, that's just my quick analogy of it. What are you thinking of?
Well, I have a couple a couple thoughts in that oven a little bit.
Mhm.
But my first thought, so like I participated in a local LARP.
Did you?
I'm not going to give free advertising to anybody here.
Awesome.
I'm not I'm not sponsored by them, and I'm pretty sure they don't like me. But that's fine. No, don't need to. But basically, there's
Hated by
the
some, loved by a lot more.
exactly
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
So basically, this one had it did have a forum system at one point. It had a
Yeah.
website, barely was used. I mean, the player base really pushed back. So this was a really weird situation because any time that you wanted to like basically talk shop or try to have like role playing sessions between games, these people want nothing to do with it. They do not want anything to do with the game unless they're at the game. So
Yeah.
now you have a situation where you're forced to be out of it for 6 to 8 months,
Mm-hmm.
and these people already don't like they already have this really strong hatred towards like role playing online or role playing on forums.
Mm-hmm.
How do you keep a game going
Well,
after that?
again, not to sound argumentative, it really depends on the game that you're playing in. With my
Well,
game,
you know which one I'm talking about.
oh, I do, and we're not going to give them any free advertising now, are we? So, but however, back in my day, we played once every 2 weeks. We had office hours the week in between the 2 weeks type of thing.
Yeah.
And on top of that, there was actually spaces for other games to play as well throughout the 2 different week period. And at the same time, we had online components. So the thing is, that it really also depends on the player base you're playing with, because as you said before, the
Well,
player
like,
base.
I'm giving you the example
Yeah,
here, though.
exactly. So basically, with the game that you're talking about, you have players who did not want to go online at all. They wanted to play in person. They wanted to do this. They wanted to do that.
Most of the player base.
Exactly. And the thing is that during good times, I guess that's fine. But during times where you have a low period, it's like you gotta think 2 steps ahead. But I guess the player pool didn't want it. Since the player doesn't want it, then that's up to the player pool.
Yeah. Well, it makes me wonder because I mean, like when you're out of a, because for me at least, this is probably
Yeah,
different for other people,
yeah,
but for me at least, the the fact that like if I'm out of a character for X amount of time,
yeah.
it's really really difficult to get back into it.
Of course.
Like it's really difficult to like. It's the same thing with like a movie series or a TV series or even a video game. It's like if I set a video game aside for like 3 weeks, it's really difficult for me to get back involved in that game,
Yeah,
at least as
get
much
back
as I
in the
was
swing of things.
originally.
Yep, exactly.
So it's like, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see. Like I don't know many people who like, I'm not really in touch with many people who are still involved in that particular
Yeah.
game, but
Hmm.
it'd be interesting to see exactly what happens with that afterwards because you have, as far as I remember, you had a player base who was vehemently against like role playing outside of the like outside of their little super small friend groups and
Yep.
overall online period. And now you don't have the ability because it was a roughly every 2 to 3 week thing,
Yep.
and yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see how because the main reason for it and this particular group of players is really sticky for it is
Hmm.
that they're very adamant about doing everything in real time.
Hmm.
So a week or two between events
Hmm.
is like a week or two of game time.
Of game
So like
time. Yep.
in world game time.
Yep.
So you have to explain that time frame. How can you explain like 6 to 8 months?
Well, that's the thing.
That's
That is
rough.
very much rough. It also depends on the actual game you're playing as well. Like as an
Yeah.
example, again, getting back to me, we had what is it? A schedule, not quite a schedule, sorry, a calendar that my players to fill out. So what happened with the characters between week to week type of thing.
Yep.
So the thing is, again, depends on how the game's set up, depends on what's going on. And the thing is that you're absolutely correct. If you're been out for 6 to 8 months or 6 to 8 weeks, that's very difficult to climb back on those boots and play forward with that again. Of course, that holds true to any form of theater, movie scripts, characters, stuff like that type of thing.
Well,
It's
that's what I mean. It's following that theme, isn't it?
yeah,
That we
exactly.
have right now. It's like so people are out for so long from comic books, and people are so out for so long from watching movies and playing like LARP games and all this other
Hmm.
stuff.
Hmm.
It's difficult to get back into that.
Well, it really has to depend on the individual client and currently what you're going for. Like as an example with the movie stuff, like as an example right now, one of the few things we talked about in our previous broadcasts was right now Hollywood's having problems actually producing new content because they're not insured because of the whole pandemic thing that's going on. So because of that, it's like if you have a favorite movie series, it's going to take some time. If you have a favorite TV series you watch once a week, hopefully they thought 2 steps ahead and reshot things and
Well,
so,
it's we
yeah.
we've kind of lived through that already though with the writer's strike, right?
Oh yeah, that's going back how many decades now?
No, it's not even that long ago. It was like I
Yeah,
think 5 or 6 years ago.
something like
The
that. Yeah.
recent one. Like, basically, it was the middle of Game of Thrones and the friggin' writer's strike, and people were like rioting.
Oh yeah.
They wanted
It's like where's my
they
TV
wanted it.
show? There's
And
no TV show.
then they got be careful what you wish for. I mean, you get that horrible thing,
Yep.
but no, I mean on the topic now. I mean we're rolling into it, so I guess we can talk about the declaration of war that's going on.
Oh yeah.
Very very big changes that are coming
Uh huh.
to the movie scene.
Mm-hmm.
AMC
Mm-hmm.
threw down the gauntlet. They drew the line in the sand,
Mm-hmm.
and Universal apparently walked over it.
Yep.
Threw the hammer down and banned Universal. There was another string of movie theaters too that joined that boycott.
Yep.
I can't remember what they were, but
Odeon Star or something like that.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But here we go. What
Yep.
is happening here? Like, I understand the premise, right? You have an agreement with movie theaters to release films and blah blah blah, but
Mm-hmm.
you have an indefinite amount of time that you don't know how long is going to be like you're going to be locked down for, and how long your content's not going to be viewed by people. So,
Yep.
I mean, I'm siding with Universal on this one.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, people out there, people in the comments, you guys can say what you want, but I'm siding with Universal on this one because they have a product to protect. They paid money,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they're sitting on this Trolls thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never watched the first Trolls movie. I haven't watched the second one.
I don't
I,
think a lot of people did.
well, apparently 110, at least 110 million people did.
Yeah, I'm talking about the first movie.
Well, apparently I don't know,
Yeah,
but anyway,
it only made 50 mil.
Yeah, at least in the theaters.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
So here's the question. So they're like, well, you know what? We have an indefinite amount of time,
Mm-hmm.
and we can't release it to theaters.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way for us to get money. We're just basically pissing money away right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just try a home release and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So they do a home release,
Mm-hmm.
and I see this thing like, and I'm on YouTube, so I see this thing like being advertised on YouTube. I see this thing being advertised on X, Y, and Z platform.
Mm-hmm.
Great. They have a $110 million release.
Yep.
And they're like, holy crap. And the rest of the world's like, holy crap. And AMC's like, well, you're not doing this anymore. We're banning you.
Yep.
Like, what the heck is going on? So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm all over the place on this one, to be totally frank and honest with you, because basically one particular system sets it up that the studios win and only the studios walk away with it. The other system, it basically gives into the general economy and everyone gets involved with it. So I am more about getting more people involved because it builds jobs, builds stimuli within the economy as well. People work, they get money, and that's how that works. When the studio gets all of the money, it doesn't really trickle down anywhere else, now does it? So on that aspect, I think it's poor. But at the same time, I am sympathetic towards the studios to a degree, because at the same time they made a product, they made a production, and they need to get it out there. At the same time here, we don't know the full details happening behind the scenes here, because we don't know if the studios actually have a contract with the different movie theaters or not. So that's interesting, because there's a difference between a contract and an agreement. So, and also at the same time here, one of the few things I used to talk about on the weekly trending fandom show is that usually family animated movies usually make serious bank anyways. So the thing is that when you have a dud franchise such as Trolls, and you have parents that are really looking for something to entertain their kids with, they'll be crawling all over this like ants on ice cream. So it doesn't matter what it is, what's it called, it's going to be there. And on top of that, with the big online push you just talked about, since on YouTube and other stuff like that, since everyone is on YouTube and stuff like that, it's going to be you have the perfect storm there. So the big question is that when things get back to normal, how will movies be treated moving forward? Because right now Universal has been banned from one of the biggest movie chains on the planet, not quite the US, but on the planet, because they have movie theaters here in Canada. Not a lot, but they have a good chunk. They also have some in the UK. They also have some in India, plus also China. So that's a major distributing arm that's currently not there.
So, yeah, so that's an interesting topic here, and I mean, I'm going to go on record here, May 2nd, 2020, and I'm going to say this:
All right.
this has opened up a Pandora's box. I don't think we can go back from.
Well, this is the thing of the thing. The thing is that we don't know how business is going to be once the theaters are back open again. Because the thing is that you could be absolutely correct. This could be taking time, not quite time. This could be taking financial aspects away from movie theaters, or this could do a complete 180. The biggest thing is we not know what's going to happen until it happens. Like one of the few things Universal wanted to do, or movie studios moving forward, is they want to do a 50-50 thing where they stream stuff off their platform and they basically bring things to the ongoing movie theater experience. And again, we've got theaters hemorrhaging money all over the place, because again, they take up a lot of retail space, and they're going to be in a lot of trouble unless they start coming up with a new model. And the thing is that that's going to be very interesting how things are going to look after when this pandemic is all said and done. Because at the same time here, when a movie does well in the box office, there are many different fingers and pies going all over the place. There's a lots of oversight. But one of the few things when you have things on an exclusive streaming site, numbers could be fudged with unless there's like major oversight in place. Like perfect example, when people were talking about Netflix back before they had their rough period, a lot of people were looking at numbers and saying this is completely artificially inflated. And it's like, what's the real numbers? No one knows. But however, money's coming in, people are getting paid. So I guess that's the important part. So it's really really going to be interesting how it is moving forward from all of this, and that's just being earnest in the whole situation. Again, we might see a combination of both. We might see business as usual because again, this is a industry that's been around for 100 plus years. So we're not talking like something that's been cooked up in the last, let's say, 20. So again,
Yeah.
as time continues on, formats continue on, people digesting their fandom entertainment continues on. It's going to be interesting when it's all said and done at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, last week we saw something that literally was a staple
Mm-hmm.
in at least one of our lifetimes,
Mm-hmm.
with Oktoberfest being canceled in Germany.
Oh yeah.
I don't think anything is sacred anymore.
Well, the thing is, again, everything's off the table because one of the few things within within pop culture in general, there's always been that dire straits of something may happen, a world war, a major pandemic, a major illness, if you will, society breaking down and stuff like that. I've been warned about this since the '60s, for goodness sakes. But however, time's always been good. Nothing's ever come up. But
Well,
now
the
we're in
thing
this
the thing
scenario.
is, when you're talking about World War, like, I mean, the last World War that we really had to take a look back on is World War II.
Hmm.
So if we take a look back at World War II, how much did society stop back then? It didn't really.
Well, the whole
It
game
it,
changed though.
it changed, yeah.
It changed quite dramatically, especially from stuff that happened from the First World War. We had the first move of the real women's movement moving forward. We have women working in traditional men roles. We've had a lot of the men away from society. Like there was a
Yeah.
lot of stuff that was happening back then, and of course, this all predates any social net, any internet, any form of social net that was back then as well. And that was like a major change. And I think some of our grandparents, maybe some of our parents are old enough, they could actually reflect back to that exactly how much has changed. And of course, when the men came back from war, again, you have everything being changed back again. And that's sort of where we are right now, as far as I could see, in basic comparison between the two. Because when it comes down to it, we don't know what's going to happen until everything opens up and things go back to, I want to say normal, but in some form of a regular occurrence. Because example with movie theaters, if depending on what state you're in, what province you're in, you may not be able to actually go to the same movies again. You may have to sit 3 seats away from your friend or from somebody else, from that matter. If that's the case, then we're
Yeah.
looking at 1/3 of ticket revenue in the toilet. And of course, when you talk about Hollywood, and let's just be real here, just for 8.2 seconds, it's all based on a commerce and it's all based on money. And you could damn sure bet your house that Hollywood will figure some way to make the money back. Because one of the few things that's been going on as well is that President Trump is not giving any stimulus to the Hollywood elites or the Hollywood machine in general. So they're starting from scratch. And you could bet that the people that run their own studios have all the money, infrastructure in place. They'll do everything they can to make sure that revenue is coming back in. If not, people's heads are going to roll.
Yeah.
Like one of the few things that
That's
I
a
could,
lot to chew on. That's
and
a
I
lot
think
to chew on.
for sure. And just to conclude this very quickly here, one of the few things I could see that's taking place is a lot of vanity projects, a lot of uh, uh, basically we're going to get better movies moving forward, because if we don't, and people spend, let's say, a million zillion dollars on a production, it only comes in a few $1,000s, people are not going to go for that, and that's not going to make bank, and the Hollywood elite will not run with that, because again, two words here: show business. And it's exactly like that.
And
And
and going back to our previous talk, I mean, about first time San Diego Comic Con's canceled.
mhm.
Natalie Levine's in the chat. Say hi, hi
Yeah,
to Natalie there.
hello.
Welcome. And yeah, I mean, it's honestly, it's unprecedented right now. We're dealing with a lot of stuff. I mean, if we can look back at the Spanish flu, and
Oh
that
yeah.
epidemic, but that was again, pre-war.
800s.
That was not really stuff that we're dealing with now.
Yeah,
I personally think that it's not something that we can go back to.
yeah.
I think it's going to be it's a game changer. I mean, yeah,
Oh, most
AMC.
definitely.
I mean, like Blaze Firestorm says, unless AMC has a contract, then they're just complaining. But
And
my opinion on it though is that, yeah, okay, AMC might have something here, that's fine. But what happens when Disney comes out and says, Oh yeah, by the way, we're gonna release a new Hercules movie because they're talking about doing a live action Hercules.
Mhm.
We're gonna release a Hercules movie, and we're gonna have it exclusive to Disney Plus. We're
Well,
gonna have it direct to your house for the first 2 weeks.
Well, the funny thing behind that is that we have to take another quick look at things, and I'm not going to take anything from your opening deposition here. But the question we got to ask ourselves is that Hercules movie a tentpole production, or is it just a production they're putting together?
Well, it's a Disney movie.
Well, for sure, but the thing is that sometimes Disney movies could be a complete flop. Perfect example: John Connor from Mars. That was supposed to be a major tentpole production, and it flopped
Oh,
completely.
I'm taking one of their marquee
Mhm.
productions here. I mean, you could insert anything. You could insert like Star
Well,
Wars or whatever else into it. It's
well,
the point is,
that's the funny thing is if this was an Avengers, what was it, Endgame? Yeah, it was Endgame. If it's an Avengers Endgame going to Disney streaming, no, that's
no,
interesting.
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
So what happens when when the first studio pulls that trigger?
yeah,
And I'm saying Disney because they have the financial weight behind them,
of
but like,
course.
it could be anybody. I mean,
Yep,
Universal's not a lightweight.
yep.
Like Universal's throwing money around, but the fact of the matter is, it's like, is AMC as a company going to stand up and say, actually, you have to show it here? And then Disney's like, yeah, no, we don't.
Yeah.
What do
Well,
they do? Are they gonna ban Disney?
well,
I don't think they can.
I
That
guess
would
what comes down to it is that it has to depend on what paperwork's in place.
It doesn't
Because,
matter what paperwork's in place
well, the thing is that then we got to ask ourselves why haven't they done that before?
because they haven't had a pandemic before.
Of
That's the point.
course, but the thing is that they've always had the ability to stream what they want when they want it. But of course, again, when it comes down to it,
Well, everything. I think it was bubbling under the surface.
for sure,
I
and
don't think
I
this
agree.
is something that you just do on the snap of a knee type
Mhm.
of thing. Like, I
Yep.
think this is bubbling under the surface, and I think the ability to do it was enabled by the pandemic.
Yeah, for sure. Because one few things that we like was the Mandarin that came out, and basically that blew the snot out
Mandalorian.
of Mandalorian Mandarin. God, I'm hungry. But anyways, when that came out, that was absolutely fantastic, and it really blew away that anything that was going to happen in the theater at that particular point in time, especially with
Well, it was better than anything was in the theaters.
exactly. And the thing is that it really depends on the climate, what's going on, and at the same time, if it's a dud, boy oh boy, they're in a lot of trouble. I mean, like a lot of trouble. But again, at the same time, in Disney's aspect, we both know that Disney right now is on the ropes. They've closed down their parks at least for the full year, and their park revenue was over $16 billion per year annually. And the thing is that again, Disney also has to be very careful on what steps to move forward because if they piss off all of their clients, their partners and stuff like that, they might find that other movie that does make $3 billion versus $2 billion, and Disney doesn't have a lot of money. So it's really a tightrope act that people are walking right now. And the thing is, the game has changed. There's no, as far as I could tell, as far as I could see, that there's no security in anything. There used to be. It used to be you make a movie, you throw it in the theater, you put it on a secondary auxiliary for home release, and and basically you have it on online streaming. Those are the three different steps that came to actually putting a production together. And now the thing is that we're at the third step now, and they're making a lot of money from that.
Well,
So,
it was a nice little dance for a while, and I
oh yeah,
think that,
yeah,
again, it comes back to what we were talking about before. I
mhm.
think people were used to it. I think it was a routine,
and,
and
and,
people kind of got into that.
and it was a definite moneymaker, like absolute moneymaker. And
So a question is, so as a consumer,
mhm,
because I know that there's a bunch of people out there that still will be happy to go back to movie theaters and etc.
yeah,
I personally, it's not going to change my movie viewing habits. Like,
yeah,
I'll go to a theater if I want to.
yeah, same here.
But the bottom line is, it's like, now that the studio, if they want to release it to a theater, if they want to release it as a digital release,
Yep. And the thing is, it gives more options available, and it all depends on who their clients is and what they want and how they digest entertainment moving forward. Because myself, I'm not into virtual content because if you're going to go out and spend 16 or 20 bucks to, excuse me, for watching a movie at home, you should be able to keep that. If you go to the movie theaters, that's a whole aspect as
well,
well.
that's the difference though.
Yeah.
When Trolls came out,
Mm-hmm.
the rental prices. So if you wanted to watch it as a home premiere, it
Mm-hmm.
was $3.
I heard it was 16.
No, it was $3.
Okay.
It was $3 if you wanted standard definition. It was like $5 or $6 if you wanted high definition,
Okay.
and that was streaming.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have the option, and this is from what I saw on my Xbox and from what I saw on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
if you have the option to rent it for three or $5,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to going to a movie theater, possibly having kids kick in the back of your seat, possibly going into a theater where someone's using their cell phone, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you just stay at home? Like for most of these families, they have like massive televisions. They have like 80-inch televisions, anyways. They have TVs that are literally projected onto their wall.
Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah, like why wouldn't they just stay home?
Well, I guess it comes down to the individual client and what they want to do. As I stated before in our conversation, I think it's very important to go to the movie theaters because, again, it's more than just watching a movie. You're supporting the person that's running the popcorn stand. You're supporting the people who are delivering the films. You're supporting the people who are cleaning the theater. There's a lot of actual economic aspect into that.
Well, that's all nice, but this is 2020.
It's also very nice. It's also very important as well to get the economy back up and running. So again, it really comes down to what the individual wants to do and how they want to digest entertainment and their content. And I
No,
think,
what I'm saying is
Mhm.
most of the consumers don't think that anymore. They don't care.
Yeah, well, I think some do, not all of them, and I agree.
But
Again,
can you run a business on some though?
well, it really has to depend. Like maybe the movie theaters might shrink down to the old Cineplex back in the day, where there's only 16 seats available, and everyone watched everything on a postage stamp. But the big thing is that again, as we talked about very briefly, we have a Cineplex here in town, and the thing is that Cineplex was totally built on Marvel and Disney and superhero movies, and basically they calculated the cost, and they said, yeah, this is cost effective to build a theater from scratch, and show our movies, and there we go. Then also the pandemic, it's like, oh boy, no one saw that coming. So, as you said before, we really don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And the thing is, we're going to take things step by step. And we're
Well,
going to
that's
see.
that's why we're here discussing it.
Yeah, of course. And the thing is that we're going to have to really see what happens from all of this. Because the thing is, if you're correct, then I guess we're looking at a whole new situation and a whole new format. But at the same time, here we really know what's going to happen until it happens. Because who knows? Maybe the movie theater say, you know what? It only costs $5 to see a tentpole production, and they get the movie theaters completely packed. For
Well,
4 or 5 days straight.
we're already seeing that though. Like even before the pandemic, we're already seeing that. Like movie theaters were struggling to get people in for like anything less than a blockbuster film.
Hmm.
They were offering come in before 2 o'clock and you'll get the movie half price.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yep.
And like that's already been happening. So if you can't get people in to watch productions, period, outside of like opening day,
Yeah.
that's rough. That's super
Well,
rough.
again, the thing is that let's look at that again for a quick second. We're talking like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. If we're looking at on a Saturday or Sunday, that makes sense. But if we're looking from a Monday through Friday thing, we're just trying to get more people in the theater, especially those individuals who don't work full-time jobs. So it's like, hey, it's great to have that option available, but if they're not going to switch it over to like 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, then that's going to be the prime ticket time to make the most money they possibly can. So again, as we talked about very briefly, it all depends who's going to hit $1 billion first, and money talks and BS walks. So
I don't
again,
know. I think that AMC kicked a hornet's nest. So they
oh
probably
no,
should have
I agree.
just
Oh,
they probably should have just taken
that's
it.
the fucking thing exactly, and that probably been the best thing moving forward. But them kind of going, well, did you just threaten me?
Well, that's it.
It's like shit.
I mean, like basically, so like at the end of the day, like what do movie theaters create? I mean, they can create experiences. Great, that's awesome.
Well, to be honest with you, they create revenue. They
They make money, but
Yeah.
what do they make money off of?
Well, they make money off the concession stands. They make money off the merchandise you could buy now.
No, I think you're missing. I think you're missing the point.
I don't think I'm missing anything.
No, you're missing
Oh
my
yeah, the
point.
movies, right?
Exactly.
Well, again,
They aren't making the movies. They're borrowing the movies,
well, yeah,
and
but
they're showing them as the reason to bring people in the door.
yep. And at the same time, it's all going to come down to what makes the most money, babe. Because the thing is that again, I could be completely wrong, and I'll be the first one to admit if I am. But it all comes down to the business aspect of it, the dollars and cents. And the thing is, if everyone's buying their content online, then the movie theaters will go the way of the 8-track tapes. and that'd be it, done. And the thing is that, you know, that's just how the business would be. I think that's pretty much a fair analogy. But however, if we're looking at this thing from strictly from an economy perspective, as I mentioned
Well,
before,
let's look at it from a historical perspective. Let's take a spin on this
sure.
right now.
All right,
Let's look at 8-track versus cassette. Let's look
sure,
at beta versus VHS.
sure.
Let's look at HD DVD versus Blu-ray,
Mm-hmm.
for examples.
Mm-hmm.
Why did those win? I know the answer.
Well, I know the answer for Blu-ray. It's because Walmart decided to kick everything into Blu-ray, and that was it. That ended that war kind of
No,
quick.
the answer is very, very simple.
Well, it's also money.
Which one sold better?
Well, exactly. It came down to money as well. Plus, on top of that, it's also information as well. Like as an example, you could store more information on a compact disc than you can on a VCR tape.
Well, that's a no-brainer. I'm saying comparable apples to apples here.
Yeah,
So beta tape and a VHS. Beta was way, way better.
of course.
It was way better quality. It was way better everything, but it was more expensive.
Exactly. And that was the biggest kicker, because when someone came out with a VHS tape that only cost 25 cents versus a beta tape that cost $2, the industry went, well, we're going to go with the 50-cent deal. And the thing is that they made enough money for that to push beta completely out of the market.
And so like it basically goes to the same thing with like 8-track and 8-track and cassette. But looking at the very interesting thing between HD DVD and Blu-ray was it came down to cost and it came down to accessibility. So you could go out and you could buy an HD DVD player and you could buy a Blu-ray player, right? The thing that broke the two was that for Sony, because they were developing the PlayStation, they put a Blu-ray player inside of the PlayStation.
Yep.
So PlayStation 3 was also a Blu-ray player for the same price as a PlayStation 3 for just a little bit more than a Blu-ray player itself. So you could have a gaming console and you could watch movies on it.
Yep. And the same thing with the Xbox too.
Well, no, not quite.
Okay.
No,
All right.
not quite. So Microsoft got paired up with HD DVD and they released an extension to the Xbox 360.
Cool.
So it was not built into the Xbox 360. You had to pay, I think it was like an extra $100 or $200
Yeah.
on top of what you're paying for the Xbox 360. So you're doubling your cost for your console.
Yep.
And it would just make more sense just to buy your own separate HD DVD player, which in itself was also expensive. So you're talking talking quality. I don't know. I mean, my understanding was that they're both
the same as far
exactly the same.
Yeah.
And like I had a debate with my boss at the time, and I told him straight up, I'm like, no, Blu-ray is going to win this one. And he's like, well, why do you say that? He's like, because I've been through this song and dance before. I'm like, look, you have a demographic of people that are with Sony. They have PlayStations. You have that gamers. That's going to push it over the edge because there's not really a difference in cost between the movies themselves. I think, funny enough, I think it was Universal was the first one to drop from the race, and they just went strictly Blu-ray.
Yeah, and on top of that, from my perspective, things as well. Another major break in the foundation was when Walmart went, we're only going with Blu-ray.
Well, that's when Universal jumped ship.
Yeah,
and they said like we're strictly doing Blu-ray.
Yeah, exactly. So with those things on board, plus on top of that Blu-ray be more accessible, then all that made sense. And on top of that, it's what the market went after, and that's kind of what happened. So the thing is, if we go back to the movie theater stuff, it's all going to come down to what's going to make the most money.
Wouldn't it be interesting? I guess like as Universal goes, so does the industry. If what we're seeing is true and historically, wouldn't it be interesting if Walmart paired up with Universal to make a streaming?
That would be, and the thing is,
streaming thing.
and that would be, in all honesty, a major game changer, because one of the few things you mentioned as well is that when you bought one device, that one device pretty much ran whatever medium you were running with. Like as an example, you bought 8-track cassette tape, you played 8-track, you played a cassette tape, you played cassette tape, so forth and so forth. But the thing is that before PlayStation 3 came out, there was no combining of two different things, except for the DVD option and the PlayStation 2 thing. So again, all new merging technology. That's what I'm trying to say here. So the thing is that with that in play, it's like, my goodness. So the thing is that, again, it's going to be interesting on how things are going to be moving forward. And it really, really is going to be, because again, we're talking about an industry that's been around for 100 years. That's going to be possibly taken over from an industry that's been around for the last 20. So again,
Yeah, and it
we
doesn't. I mean, it
are,
doesn't have to be Walmart. I mean, like,
yeah.
imagine if like Netflix or Amazon
Or wait for this, maybe Universal gets hooked up with AT&T.
or Google.
Yeah. Google, no, that's scary. Or
Wouldn't that
even
be
Apple.
something?
Or even Apple.
Or even Apple.
Yeah. But right
Yeah,
now, Apple's not doing too well with the distributing content. It did it a lot better in the early 2000s.
they had their
But
Apple TV.
yeah, they do. So it's like, I heard, just to get off track here really quickly, I heard that Apple wants to make a power play for Disney by buying up all their stocks. So that's going to be interesting. But however, the reason I bring it up is Apple is hungry for any form of studio to work with. So it's all going to be a major game changer. And we won't
Oh,
know what's going to happen until it happens. And yeah, it would be very interesting if Apple bought out Universal. But at the same time, in all honesty, I don't honestly know how big Universal is. Can a company like Apple consume them?
I would think so. I mean, at least they could. In the very least, they could partner.
Yeah, and the thing is,
In
if
the
that's
very
the case,
least.
then that opens up a whole other aspect of things, because Apple has, well, their iPhones and everything else like that. And the thing is that now we could take this from, and also got the
Oh,
iTunes
imagine.
stuff like
Oh my
that.
goodness.
Exactly. Maybe
Streaming
we should
exclusive
be paid for this advice.
exclusive streaming of Universal movies and Universal's libraries to your Apple devices.
And how's that?
Holy shit.
And how's that for a big finger to the AMC movie theater chain?
Holy shit.
Yeah, and that right there, my very, very good friend, that's a game changer. And it'd be interesting to see what moves forward, because right now AT&T has that already with Warner Brothers.
That's true.
So it's like, my goodness. And the thing is that, again, Fox, formerly now known as Disney, has all
Yeah.
the content. They could easily flip it over as well. So we might be seeing a major dynamic shift. And the thing, as I said before, money talks. Like, again, I have my wishful thinking on how society should be and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's all about the dollars and cents, man. And the thing is that that's exactly how the market would be. Simple as that.
Well, and I think that people are. I mean, just to put a pin in that conversation, I think the people are basically saying that as much. I mean, $110 million for some no name movie.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry if our viewers out there like trolls, but I'm pretty sure when we're talking about like household names. Like, I don't know, I don't have kids, so. But it's I think people are putting money towards that, and I think that's going to speak volumes.
For sure. And I also said before, and I'm not saying this to be argumentative, usually family films that are animated do really, really well. So when you have none of the studios releasing anything, and you got Universal releasing Trolls, especially on an accessible format, of course it's going to sell like hotcakes. And the thing is that that's the important factor. And the thing is, it's going to be interesting how things are going to be moving forward, because who knows how many limbs that AMC theaters will pull themselves off just to get people back, getting butts in the seats, if you know what I mean. So again, we could be looking at a major war from all of this. And of course, who wins? You win and I win, because they're going to basically making sure that people like us will go to their format to watch whatever they want to watch at an incredibly low price.
Oh, and I'm totally good with that.
Oh,
I'm happy with that.
Of course, and who would it be? So the question is that will popcorn still cost $50 to pick up, or will that be even cheaper?
Or they're just going to put it on Uber Eats.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is that we really
charge you $75 for a $15 item.
Yeah, no kidding, eh? Goodness gracious. And at the same time here, we really know what's going to happen until things have been lifted and things come back to the new normal, I guess you could say, because we can't go back.
No, we won't be going back, I don't think. And I mean, like, we can sit here and we can toss the ball around. I mean, I'm just reading tea leaves at this point.
Yeah,
I'm not saying things are definitively going to go one way or the other, but I've been around the sun a few times.
Yeah,
I can look at this stuff and
yeah,
I can figure out from patterns exactly possibly what's going to happen, and I think that's what we're looking at here.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I'm not trying to be argumentative or anything else like that. Again, when it all really comes down to it, at the end of the day, Crumb, it all comes back to where the dollars are going. Is the format
or not going?
Accessible? Exactly. Is the format more accessible for home viewing only? My personal opinion, I think it's going to be a 50-50 thing until that one game changer comes in. Allow it to be a new game system or companies merging together or something else like that taking place, because again, AT&T has all the dots lined up. They really, really do. And they can
Well,
even move forward and making their own handheld device if they really wanted to, because they have the infrastructure and they have dollars to do it. Right now Disney can't because they spit themselves into friggin' oblivion by acquiring Fox. So it's like, oh,
well, there's always more money. That's
well,
the thing.
of course, but
But like, here's the funny part though.
Mhm.
PlayStation and Xbox are both rolling out new systems within the next 2 to 3 years.
That's true too. So again,
So
we have station fatigue. So that's another thing as well, because I know that a lot of people, especially good friends of mine, have just recently bought Switches. So it's like, hey, cool. So
it's a great system.
yeah, for sure. And at the same time, we're not going to know until it happens. Until it happens. But
Well,
however,
until then, we can have fun talking about it.
yeah, for sure. And at the same time, here, when it happens, it's gonna happen.
It's going to happen quickly.
Yep, yep.
That's for sure. Well,
Sooner than later.
just to wrap things up here, I'm just gonna give us a little plug here. If you've not already checked us out on Patreon, we have a Patreon available. Gives you plenty of options. I mean, the lowest tier is $3. That's $3 a month. If you want to support us, you want to keep these shows going, you want to help us pay our bills, and put it towards a little bit. That every little bit helps. Of
Mhm.
course, you viewing obviously helps a lot. But we have the $5 tier. Also gets you into the Discord, and you can suggest topics. And there's some tiers in there as well that enable you to come on the show with us anytime. So
Mhm.
give that a check out. Links in the description.
For sure.
If y'all,
Yep.
yeah,
Start going. Sorry, go.
if everyone out there is enjoying what you see, and just be sure to drop a subscription, give a little thumbs up, doodle,
Yep.
and
For sure. For sure. And
help us out a little bit.
yeah, and before we take off, one of the few things I would like to tell you there is that you came up with a second episode of your online comic, didn't you?
I did.
Yes. And how
I
was that
did.
received?
It was pretty quiet.
Okay.
People don't seem as excited.
Well,
That's
I got it.
fine.
Yeah, I think it's really, really cool. I especially like the cliffhanger at the end there. Um, I think you got something that's really, really cool, and I hope you keep up with it.
Well, it's so funny. So like Animal Crossing is such a unique little game to play, right?
Yeah.
So the two characters that like quote unquote were killed, or at
Hmm.
least looked like they were killed, in the I guess not even it's kind of left ambiguous as to who they are.
Yeah.
But one of them actually had moved away from my island,
Okay.
so I have a new person on my island in their place. So it's even funnier for that because it's like, oh, now they're gone. So it's like it makes it seem like even more so. But, no, it's a fun game.
Yeah, for sure. And at the same time, the content you're putting together with your comic, I really find it enjoyable, and I find it funny, just because I like macabre humor like that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
it's interesting where your book goes. So
But closing thoughts.
yeah, overall, new stuff moving forward, live action role playing, comic books shops in general, retail in general, movie studios, movie theaters. It's all going to be different once this pandemic thing has finally come and gone. And of course, on top of that, it's going to be interesting what the world is going to be, especially preparing for the next major catastrophe that comes down the pipes. So
Completely agree.
yeah,
No, it's going to be much different. I think we've opened a Pandora's box in a bunch of these different areas. I think we're going to have to adapt, and we're going to have to see where things settle after everything is shaken out.
yep.
See how many wasp nests fall out of the trees.
This is
Little Animal Crossing reference there.
and be
But
careful
yeah,
with the tarantulas.
exactly. Careful. But no, I think we're gonna be in a very different place. Not necessarily a bad place. I mean, it's probably really good for consumers.
Yep.
We'll have to see. I mean, it was a really really good time for corporations for a very very long time, and so it might be changing. So,
Oh,
but
it definitely will be changing. What that new change will be, we're gonna have to wait and see.
exactly.
Mhm.
But that is it for us today.
All right.
Thank
See
you guys so much, and as always, keep your stick on the ice. We'll be back next week.
All right. See you guys later.
Ciao.
Bye bye.